to view slideshow. And welcome back to the RLR podcast. For our new listeners,
this is Rejects Learning Russian
with Heath Norrell and
Ryan McGlon.
So today on RLR, we cover Vladimir Lenin. For his birth, Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov was born in 1870 on the 22nd of April. He was born in Simbirsk when it was still the Russian Empire.
Yes, as it was.
Right. The town he was born in, Simbirsk, the town was later renamed in honor of him to Ulyanovsk, Russia.
Wow, that is very interesting.
I know, right? He must have been a pretty important man. You want to see what else he's done?
Let's see what else he's done.
Why he would get a town named after him?
I want to see why.
I do too.
So, in his early life, his mother was the daughter of a physician and his father was the son of a serf. Wow. What an odd couple.
I know. The mother, after the father passes and, mom's on her own, the mom actually has, a lot of pension and inheritance that keeps the family more than happy, keeps them all taken care of.
Yeah, that is very impressive. And his father then became a school teacher and eventually a school inspector. That is a very respectable job.
That's pretty impressive.
And as we know in our Russian class, since we are Rejects Learning Russian,
we are.
We know that teaching and working in the school is a very respectable career.
Incredibly prestigious in Russia.
Yes. Like American teachers, I don't know what's going on there.
$1,000 a year, maybe.
Yeah, but Russians, they know how it's going on.
They take care of their teachers.
So he came from a loving and a caring family. And, we don't blame him. I mean, he had a good life going for him in his early life. Granted, he might not have been well off, but he was well enough off to make a good impression on life.
I think so.
He excelled in school and was the top of his class in high school and excelled in Greek and Latin languages. I can barely speak one.
I can barely speak English. Did you know he was also very physically fit, and he was also very intellectually gifted? As you can see in the two languages.
Must be nice, man. I wish I had that kind of going for me.
I do too. At 16, his father was killed.
Oh no, bro.
Yes, he was killed by I want to say the government.
The government killed his father?
I think so.
Well, it doesn't surprise me at the time. You say the wrong thing and you might get got, And at 17, his brother was hanged, leaving him as the oldest male in the family, which is quite depressing at times. But, you do what you must. You must care for the family and you must take care when you become the oldest.
Yeah. So like I said earlier, as being the oldest male, but still being so young, his mother actually had enough to keep their entire family going.
Which is really impressive.
I think so. For a woman to have money like that in a time period like that, that was quite substantial.
I would agree.
Some of his accomplishments consist of, early on in his life, he became a theorist in the Marxism for the Russian Social Democratic Labor Party.
He did.
He worked with this party from 1898 to his death in 1924.
Wow, that is a long time.
Vladimir Lenin had several accomplishments in his life that he had achieved, one of which was his literacy campaign. He made people want to read,
I don't even want to read.
I don't want to read either.
But I guess people know how to read now.
Yeah, he raised the literacy rate from 26% to over 50% in just 10 years.
And in 20, that literacy rate was increased to over 90%.
90% of a giant place like Russia.
That's a lot.
Everyone's educated. That's pretty impressive.
I mean, I don't even think 90% of America can read.
No, I don't think so. And this is 2023.
Like, I remember looking online one time, and grown adults were thinking chocolate milk came from brown cows.
Yeah, I've seen strawberry milk come from strawberry cows, according to the internet.
We love to see that.
We love 2023 is killing it.
Some more of his accomplishments. He also established a collection of orphanages that would span across the country, which would in turn decrease the number of children that were roaming the streets from over 6 million. Wow, 6 million. That is six with 6 zeros after it. That is a lot of children.
A significant amount of zeros.
Like 6 million. I can't even imagine having 6 million pennies, you know? And a penny is not a very big number, but a child is worth a lot of pennies.
I guess if you choose to look at children worth pennies, Ryan, I guess if that's how you want to look at the value of a child, is dollared amount in pennies.
I mean, but in turn, I mean, he reduced that 6 million pennies to less than 200,000. I mean, in just the span of 7 years.
That is an increasingly, that's an alarming amount of pennies that he got rid of in 7 years. For those of you that aren't following and consistent followers of the RLR podcast, children are not objects. They're not pennies. They are human beings,
and they are not worth money.
No, they are not.
According to the orphanage,
you cannot put a value on human life.
Well, the government says you can.
One of his other accomplishments, to move on, was increasing the standard Russian power output from 1/4 of a gigawatt in the 1920s to 1.4 in the 1930s to up to 4.1 in 1935.
Wow, that's a lot of power.
I'm not an electrician, but damn, you can consider me shocked.
Oh my God. You know, that is one of our most shocking facts here today.
That is. It's really electrocuting. It's really getting me interested.
I mean, going from half a gigawatt, that doesn't sound, or even 1/4 of a gigawatt, that doesn't sound like very much. But we have nothing to compare that to in the 1920s in the U.S.
America was down bad.
It was down bad, but it increased by over 16 and a half times. That is a lot of power.
In just 15 years, that is a alarming growth rate almost, you know?
It is. That is quite electrifying. How much power that can be in a year.
That is, very impressive, man. Very impressive.
Very impressive.
He died January 21st, 1924 at the age of 53, which right now, that's still pretty young. Back then, it's got some weight to it.
But this man, he's not only did he die with style.
How'd he die?
He died by having a stroke, but not his first stroke. His second stroke. After surviving an assassination attempt. Yes, he was almost assassinated while he was in office. In 1918, he had multiple bullet wounds inside of his chest, but he didn't even do anything about it. He was such a tough man that they didn't even find the bullets until his first stroke.
Oh, wow. He died in Groky, Moscow Governorate in the Soviet Union. And his casket is currently displayed in the mausoleum in Moscow.
Wow. Did you also know his original burial was inside the Kremlin?
Oh, I did not know that. So that means you can go to the mausoleum and see his casket.
It is very interesting. I've heard and I've seen maybe that the fact it's red, black in the room, very well velvet drapes.
Oh, wow. So for all you wonderful RLR podcast followers, I think this concludes our podcast today.
Yes, and we would have liked to bring on a special guest, but they could not answer the phone today.
Yes, our special guest, some of you may know him, Gabriel Pless, was not answering, and we're very disappointed that he couldn't be here tonight. But we go on with the show anyways, just for you faithful listeners.
Yes, I think so. I think this does conclude our presentation of the RLR TV
I think podcast. So too. Good night, farewell. Das Vidania.
Dars Vidania.